What's going on? What is this? Is that my #1 wish list plant in a grown-up form? Is this another plant that I just said I was trying to raise up from a cutting? Is this the plant I was threatening the maidenhair fern with? And then back here, is this the plant that was on my wish list for the longest time? Yes, it's all true. I made a somewhat ridiculous birthday plant haul. Now, I talked about not wanting to go overboard and that I would prefer to just raise plants up from seedlings where it was slightly less expensive, and that I was trying to grow another plant out from a cutting. But then it was my birthday, and also a lot of stressful things were happening, and I ran out of self-control. I was using a lot of self-control on the subject of not having some sort of breakdown. And so I went on Etsy. I thought of my favorite plants and I bought them all. This should keep me going for a while, however, because I really don't have a wish list other than what this was. So plant #1, that has been on my wish list since I very first saw it, is Calathea mosaica, or the network Calathea. I don't think it takes much to understand why this was on my list. It's got such an intense and interesting and detailed pattern to all of the leaves. It looks like somebody's taken a piece of paper and done a lot of cross-hatching on it in a deep green ink. And I'm honestly just in love with that. I think that is so spectacular. I know it's not some of the more grander foliage of some of the fancier Calatheas, but this one has really caught my eye. So I've had a Calathea Lancifolia for a little over a year, and that's just chugged along steadily, not being too high maintenance, and I believe that the mosaica is also not a particularly high maintenance Calathea. I do keep the humidifier running in here, and so to that extent I think that will help it. So that is plant #1 of my birthday plant haul. This one was a much more recent desire. After I got Philodendron micans last year, I got really into the notion of these shiny velvet-leaved philodendron. And as I have shown previously, I do have a leaf cutting of this Philodendron melanochrysum species, and it has grown 2 tiny roots, but I really just got to thinking, why shouldn't I have the big one now? So this came in pretty lovely condition. You can see most of the leaves on it are very nice. This leaf looks like it ran into some trouble, but that's okay. It's still photosynthesizing. And the very tippy top leaf was still sort of hardening up on the way, and so I think it's taken a little bit of damage in transit, but not too much. Look at the way the veins glow through it. So I think this one looks like it's in really good health. Obviously we'll see what happens as they acclimate, but I'm very excited for it to grow even bigger. And when it grows even bigger, to get even bigger leaves. I'm not sure about its growth pattern, but it does look like it's doing something else here. If it is, it looks like the tip of this is just trying to pop out. So maybe that's a new leaf in there? We'll find out soon enough. This one isn't exactly a wish list plant. It's more, I was thinking about how I would like the room to look and I was thinking about getting something which would sit over by my Philodendron Brazil, where there's currently the maidenhair. And what I was thinking is that I'd like something else that would be hanging and climbing. So I'm just letting it acclimate a bit over near the humidifier and the light. But probably on the weekend I will hang that up and then figure out what I'm doing with the maidenhair. I'm not really ready to make good on my threats to its life, so it'll probably just be moved somewhere where I think it's got some chance of surviving. At this point I'm not really sure what it wants, but since it's clinging to life, we'll let it keep clinging. But hopefully this, on the other hand, will flourish and will grow and will climb the wall and dangle down and look extraordinarily beautiful. I like the Scindapsus pictus leaves. I wasn't particularly fussed over what variety. This one's just got small amounts of silver on green, except for this a few leaves that are just flat out silver. So isn't that a beautiful leaf? But then so is this one next to it that's almost all green. Last but emphatically not least, yes, I finally got an Anthurium clarinovium. This is its biggest leaf. It's got a little damage here and here, but it's a pretty stellar example of that beautiful heart shape with the ridiculous vein pattern that I was in love with it for the second I saw it. But they're very expensive here in the US and they're not going down in price. And I've been trying to hold out. And I bought a seedling, but that's just not doing well in my environment. And so, birthday. It has really nice leaves. This is the newest, and again, I don't think this is quite completely hardened off yet. It's still a little soft, but it does have they call it the velvet, cardboard velvet Anthurium, and it definitely is that. So these can be finicky about humidity. I have it in a spot that's not overly brightly lit, but it is within range of the window and the grow lights, but it's right next to the humidifier, and I'm hoping that will really help. It does look pretty solid and sturdy for a plant. Again, because it only arrived yesterday, we'll see what happens with the acclimating. But I'm sure you'll be hearing more about this, whether for better or for worse, because it's just... I'm just in love with it. I'm still trying to keep the little baby seedling alive, but I don't know what happened. I've got it under a cloche now. I'm not going to show it to you because it's a bit sad for this video. But anyway, do let me know if you have a plant that you've really been wanting or a plant that you really love that you want to tell me about, and let me know which one of these that you saw you thought was the most beautiful. I think right now my heart is actually with the Philodendron melanochrysum because it's just stunning right now, but I'm so happy to have this one. I'm not really sure I've quite got used to the fact that it's finally in my house. And also I'm nervous about it, so we'll see how it goes.